100 years from now is a person's relationship with God. Secondly is this: no one has more potential to influence a child's relationship with God than a parent. Mom and dad, you have the potential. If you don't do it, if you don't influence their life for God, they're going to get it from one or two areas. They're going to get it from culture, and they're going to get it from their friends. It's either going to come of one of those three places: culture, their friends, or you. So mom and dad, that's in your court. Number three, we've got to agree on this: no one has more potential to influence the parent than the church. You see, we as a church, we don't want to be a replacement for you. We want to be a partner with you. We want to be a partner, not a replacement. We want to help families do what God designed them to do, namely proclaim the works of His name from generation to generation. Practically, it looks like this. If you have children from birth to 4 years old, we have a preschool ministry, which is called, we teach them what is called First Look. And what we want to do with our preschool ministry is this: teach them 3 core truths. And we believe if a 4-year-old can grasp these 3 core truths, then that will set them up for a life of following Christ. So here they are: God made me, God loves me, and Jesus wants to be my friend forever. Right? We believe, birth to 4, that's kind of preschool ministry. Most churches just look at it as just kind of babysitting while the adults are doing something. We don't want to look at it that way. We want your age 0 to age 4 child to be having those things grounded in them to a foundational level so that they understand those 4 things. And that will set them up for maybe later on making a decision to follow Christ because they understand those 3 things. For our children's ministry, it looks like this. If you're a child age 5 to 11, we teach them what is called 252 Basics. And it is, again, these 3 core truths that we want to lay on top of that foundation. I can trust God no matter what. I need to make the wise choice. And I should treat others the way I want to be treated. We believe that if a child can understand those 3 things, that lays a foundation for a lifetime of following Christ. And that hopefully within that some point or within their teenage years, they make a decision to follow Him. And that lays the foundation for what can happen in their lives. For teenagers, it looks like this. We teach them what is called XP3, and it's based around these 3 ideas. We can build a little bit more on teenagers, right? They're beginning to think more about who they are, and they're like Israel. They're moving from dependence on mom and dad to independence. They're creating their own identity. They're creating their own friends, their own life. And so we want them to understand these core truths. We were created to pursue an authentic relationship with our Creator. Secondly, we were created to discover that we belong to Jesus Christ and define who we are by what He says. Not by what my friends say I am, not by what TV says I am, not by what the internet says I am, but by what Jesus, through the words of Scripture, says that I am. So all our teaching are wrapped around these ideas. And third, we were created to demonstrate God's love every day to a broken world. So we believe it's the teenage years where they start to grasp that this world is not all about them, and that God put us here on the planet to demonstrate His love and His story of redemption to others as well. So if each age group can walk away with the understanding of those 3 truths, we believe that that will lay a foundation for a life of following Jesus. We also want to equip parents in the process. We don't want to be a replacement for you. We want to equip you to do that. So briefly, this is what it looks like to equip parents on a literal level or on a practical level. For elementary age parents, we give them all sorts of take-home supplies. So your elementary age students, when they leave their Sunday school class, they're going to have some take-home sheets, some refrigerator cards with a Bible verse on it. And one that I want to unveil to you this morning is what's called a Q box. C-U-E, it's a Q box. And you can find it at www.familytimes.org. This is what this is. This is gold for you. If you're a parent of an elementary age student, this is gold for you. A Q box is a box that you receive in the mail every month that gives you the 4 family times: the drive time, meal time, bedtime, morning time. It lays out what to say, what conversations to have for those 4 times. So you are equipped to lead out in those 4 times. I mean, it tells you what to say. It tells you, it has CDs for you to play in your car on your drive time. It has posters that go up on your wall to remind your kids of what that month Q time is about. It goes alongside what we're teaching them on Sunday morning. It corresponds with the curriculum that we use. There is a small price included with that. It's $10 if you want the subscription, $10 a month if you want the subscription, but it's quality. It's quality. It's not a rip-off thing. If we made it here in the church office, it wouldn't look near as good. It's good stuff. It's professionally done stuff. It's I believe it's $12 if you just want to sample it for one. So go to that website if you're a parent of an elementary age child. It is gold for you. Because if you're like me, you don't really feel equipped in how to lead out and be the father that God has called you to be. Well, this tells you how to do it. And it goes alongside with what they're learning in our Sunday school as well. For teenagers, we have what's called a parent queue. It's an email that goes out to all our parents of our teenagers that simply gives you an open-ended question about what the students learned this morning. So this morning, the students learned about the Sabbath and what that means and why it's important to have a day that's about God. And so we sent out an email last week for you to have an open-ended question. So kids, now you know it's coming. Now it's going to be really awkward. So mom and dad, you have an open-ended question because we've learned that the question, what did you learn in Sunday school, doesn't really lead to depth of conversation, does it? It's like, I don't know. No, we're giving you a good open-ended question that drives home the point, that allows you to have good conversation about what we're teaching them as well. And what's most important, especially for our parents of our teenagers, is that we want to provide for you another adult in your child's life who is saying the same things that you're saying at home. Because listen, teenagers, you know this. I went through this. Adults, you went through this as well. When we were teenagers, we went through that phase where mom and dad had no clue what they were talking about, right? We knew much better than they did. You know, we're moving from dependence on them to independence on our own. And when you do that, you have a tendency to rebel against that which you've been dependent on, right? The people of God, Israel, children of God, they rebelled against God because they were moving on to independence. They could do it on their own. Teenage years are like that. We say, no, mom, dad, I don't need you, and I'm not going to listen to you. I'm doing my own thing now. I've been under your roof for far too long. It's time for me to make a life of my own. I'm 12, you know. And so we understand that you're going through that. And so what we want to provide, more adults who come alongside your child and say the same things. Because many of you have come up to me and said, you know what, JD, could you teach this to them? Because when you say it, it sounds different than when it comes from mom and dad. And I understand that. I was the same way with my parents. And so we want to provide another adult. We need more adults to be those adults. We need more adults in we need more adults in our preschool division, our children's ministry, our youth ministry. We need you, the older generations, to invest into the younger generations. And here's one more that we want to equip you with. This is an event coming up in November. It's called Celebrating Families. It's in your worship guide, so you can make note of it there, have something to take home. But we are it's basically a parenting conference, parenting seminar, whatever you want to call it, but it's designed to do this. We're bringing in Sue Miller, who is like a parenting guru. She travels all over everywhere, and she makes good parents become great parents. And so if that's you, if you feel like, okay, I'm a decent parent, but I want to take the next step and I want to be really the parent who God has called me to be, then mark that calendar down. Free admission, childcare provided. It's for parents from birth to college. So if you want to come and be a part of that, mark that down on your calendar. It's a Sunday night, November 14th, 5 to 7 p.m. We'll do it in the warehouse. So come to that. You'll start hearing more about that in the coming days. So back to us, everybody else. Parents, that's it for you now. For everybody else, for all of us as a church, we need you. If we are to proclaim his name from one generation to the next, let me ask you this question and we're done. What are you doing for the generation below you? Senior adults, how are you investing in the adults younger than you? Older adults, how are you investing in our college students? How are you investing in our teenagers? Teenagers, high schoolers, how are you investing in the middle schoolers? Middle schoolers, how are you investing in our children's ministry? See, we are called as people of God to proclaim his name from one generation to the next, which means I look at the generation below me and I invest my time D.A. Carson, who is a great theologian,